what can you do right now? Do you think there are areas of easy compromise that you can work with Republicans on? And then are there areas that you think that they'll start to come around on where they'll see maybe this 80,000 cut where they will want to have more information and they'll join you in pushing for more?
Well, look, there are some Republicans that there was maybe, I think, 34 Republicans that voted for the PACT Act initially in 2022.
Yeah.
But the Republican leadership opposed it, even when it passed the Senate by a huge amount. We had to go through a couple of times. I don't want to go through the whole story, but this Speaker of the House voted against the PACT Act. Mm-hmm. And Chairman Bost voted against it initially. We changed it significantly. He had an excuse to then vote for it. But they've never really liked the way we've funded the PACT Act. It's very costly. And we called it the cost of war. And it is, it's like the initial estimates by the CBO were upwards of like, I don't know, $700 billion, like close to $750 billion that was needed to be taking care of all this. So the entire Republican Party, my colleagues, have never liked being on the hook for that much money. My position and the position of the Democrats has always been, hey, toxic exposure is the cost of war. It's no different than paying for someone's helmet, someone's flak jacket, when they're in the heat of battle. The heat of battle just sort of shows up 5, 10, 15 years later when all these different, illnesses start to show up because you were exposed to Agent Orange, you were exposed to blasts, you were exposed to burn pits, and you need some peace of mind for you and your family that you're going to get benefits and you're going to get health care. How do I know why? What's the evidence for this? This latest continuing resolution that we had a battle over zeroed out the advanced appropriations by some like $24, $25 billion. Now, for your listeners, and the VA is one of the few places where we approve how much money a year before. This is the only thing. This is how much political weight there is behind taking care of our veterans. Mm-hmm. But as evidence, and they zeroed it out. They said, the appropriations for the next fiscal year got zero in it. And they said, Democrats are hyperventilating, they're exaggerating.
Well, they said that they're going to come back and they're going to talk about that money when it comes to that part. But I know the Toxic Exposure Fund was designed to be guaranteed money that didn't have to do that. Now that they've made that move, do you think you're going to be able to convince them? Do you think this is just going to be more of the same fight?
I think I'm going to be very successful at making it too hot for them to handle.
Okay.
They're deluding themselves if they think that the American people are going to want to see the Hunger Games created between veterans and school lunches. Veterans, we created the toxic. So we have spending that we do on our defense, and we have spending that we don't do on defense. They're two big categories. VA, oddly enough, is in the category of non-defense spending. And so we knew that toxic exposure could cost up to $750 billion. And if you're committed to making sure we take care of the veteran, you would say, look, we don't want to make the veterans who are suffering from toxic exposure compete with all of the other domestic priorities or compete against our military, right? But we've got to make this commitment to them. So we created a special fund called the Toxic Exposure Fund. Republicans never liked it.
And that just essentially took everything out of the budget debate. That was a separate
right. That's
fund.
right.
So when it
just said, look, it made it politically possible for us to say this is how we're going to fund it. They've zeroed that out for next year. I think that is a huge indication of where they want to go. And they're gonna turn it into a debate later on. Well, we got to pay for it some other way. We can't. This is an addition. I'm saying no, you just want to undermine the PACT Act. You want to renege on it. They won't cop to it, but that's what they're up to.
All right, well, Congressman, you got some votes coming up, so I appreciate all the time here, and I'll be talking to you about this in the months to come.
Thank you.